Alright, first things first, open up your browser. Type in MySQL installation guide. Go to the dev.mysql.com route. Scroll down to the table of contents and click index 5. In the next table of contents, click 5.3. In the next page, scroll down to the MySQL installer community release. Click the link and then click the web-based installer. Select no thanks, just start my download, and save the file to a place where you will find it quickly. Alright, so when the installer first opens up, you're going to see a couple of options here. You'll see full, developer default, custom. You can go to custom and actually open up a browser that shows you the list of features that will be installed in the installer, but for here, I believe we're just going to pick developer default. Before we can start the MySQL installation, there are two requirements that we need: Python and Visual Studio build tools 2015 or higher. First, we will start the installation for the build tools because that takes longer. Go back to your browser and type in Studio Code 2019 Community. Click the first link, that is a Visual Studio.Microsoft link. Make sure you get the purple one and not the blue one. Click the free download button under the community section. Just wait a second and your computer should ask you where you want to save the installer. Once the installer opens, click continue. In the next screen, you'll see a list of plugins that you can download along with the Visual Studio Build Tools pack. I usually just select them all to future-proof the installation so I don't have to reinstall it in the future. Actually, you'll notice that I have two installations of the 2019 build pack. I believe the last time I installed this, I didn't select the database tools for some reason, I guess. But once I installed it again, I picked it up in the MySQL installer, so it worked. The next thing we're going to want to install is Python. Just click the link they provide. On the home page, scroll down and select 3.8.7. Scroll down on the next page and select the 64-bit installer. Save the installer somewhere and open it. Once you open it, basically all you want to do is just select add Python to the path and then continue with the express installation option. You can verify that the Python was installed properly by going to your command shell and typing in pip, because pip is the installer package for the Python libraries. If Python asks you to disable the 260 character limit, just select yes, because if you have a lot of variables in your path or environment variable, your computer might not be able to handle them all. Alright, so once you've verified that Python's been installed properly, go back to the MySQL launcher and click on the check button again to make sure that you get a green check mark. At this point, just sit and wait for the Visual Studio build tools to finish installing all the features and stuff, because that is required for the MySQL installer to work properly. You shouldn't need to restart your system after. You should just be able to go into the MySQL installer and start installing the features. So when you finish the installation, the build tools will try to open up the code editor. You can go ahead and close that. Remove any duplicate versions of the build tools that you might have of the versions. Then you're just going to want to go back to the MySQL installer and start installing the features. If you encounter an error where the features fail their download halfway, press the back button at the bottom of the GUI and try to re-execute the installer. Don't close it. I don't know what happens if you do. Once you have them all downloaded, press the back button again and re-execute one final time to install the features. After the features install, you should be able to open up the workbench and follow along in the lectures. If you have any troubles during the installation, just let me know in the Discord. It should display two options for configurations in the next window. One of them should be your MySQL Server configurations. You need to configure the port, host, and users for your database. Here, just select development computer and leave everything as is. If you have a preferred port that you like running your databases on, you can change it here. I try to use a memorable number because it is important for making any type of connection to your database in the future. On the next page, you'll be asked about password encryption. Unless you know what you're doing, just select the default. The next window will prompt you for the root user's password. Enter something memorable but challenging. It's also a good idea to set up a backup admin account just in case things go wrong or you want to make remote connections. I do not recommend making remote connections to any database as the root user unless your connection is secured. These steps aren't really necessary because most of you will be connecting through the root on localhost, but it is a good practice and will future-proof your database if you choose to use it to set up an admin and a backup admin account for remote connections. The user creation window will ask you for the username, host address of the server, which is localhost in our case, role of the user, authentication type used for the SQL server, and credentials for the user that you're creating. I'm going to create two users, one that is the primary database admin and a backup admin account in case the primary one gets compromised or we forget the login. When a MySQL server starts up on your PC, it will be assigned the service name, and you'll be able to track this in your task manager, similar to how you close Chrome browsers that aren't responding. You can change it here if you want, or you can just keep these options the way they are and continue. Finally, click execute and the MySQL installer will begin and everything should go smoothly. Lastly, it's going to ask you to set up the router configurations. You can just leave these the way they are unless you know what you're doing, but then MySQL should be installed. You can now open up the Workbench, hopefully log into the root user if you remembered your password, and start making queries and follow along with the lectures. If you have any questions about the installation process, just let me know in the Discord and I'll try to help you out whenever I can.